Welcome to Books and Bocadillos. My name is Mariandrea, and today I am doing day 4 in the Poetry Readathon. And the prompt that I'll be fulfilling today is the Watch a Poet prompt, and that is prompt number 5. I found a TEDx talk with Fatimah Asghar. Fatimah is the author of If They Come For Us, and this is a poetry collection that I have in my collection of poetry books. And I really enjoy her poetry. I've never seen her perform, and I thought I'd like to. And I saw this this talk, and I wanted to watch it live with you. I haven't seen it. I just clicked on it and saw like the first minute, and then I paused and I thought, let me watch it live. So here we go.
Hi, everybody. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Okay, great. So my name is Fatimah Asghar. I'm a poet and a performer and an artist. And so today I'm going to be sharing some poems with you as well as some thoughts. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share a poem that's called Speak American. You speak so well. My family is proud I don't speak Urdu. The dining room table, a dictionary. Medicine words, textbook, theory, ivory language pouring out of our mouths like gravy. Thanksgiving, our favorite holiday. Turkey, mashed potatoes, stuffing, cranberry sauce, pumpkin pie. No curry, no spice, no rice. You speak so well, almost like you were born here. You speak so well, almost like you were born here. When the American boys come over, my aunt hides behind the stove. Cuts onions, makes tea, flours all the pans. The American boys sit and joke with my uncle, laughing over some news not theirs. Meanwhile, my aunt loses her words, finds them slippery as marbles rolling away. She practices them under her tongue as the kitchen sweats. Everything smells like cinnamon. The American boys laugh and my aunt flinches, takes her plate to her room, wraps her long black hair in gold scarf, molds the headdress to crown, and owns all the language in the world. You speak so well. 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 So well. So well. So well. So well. So well. Almost like you were born here. 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 You speak so well. Almost like you were born here. Almost. So this is my ear and it keeps getting stuck to my mic. But so as I said, I'm a poet, I'm a performer, I'm also many other things. I'm Pakistani, I'm Kashmiri, I'm Muslim, I'm an orphan, I'm queer, I'm American, all of these things all at the same time. Which is mind-boggling to some people. They're like, what? And I'm like, I promise I exist. I'm a real person. But the reason why I wrote that poem was because Coca-Cola issued this ad a couple years ago, which was had a lot of different students and kids from different ethnicities singing America the Beautiful in all their native languages. And I saw this ad and like almost started crying, and I just thought it was so beautiful because it really expanded the idea of what it could mean to be American, right? Like if all of these kids are singing this and all of these languages are included in the definition of American, then it just felt like we had really achieved the ideal of what America wanted to be. However, the world is not naive like myself and into all of that. So there was this tremendously negative backlash on Twitter that happened using the hashtag #SpeakAmerican, in which a lot of people were just explaining and kind of venting about how they felt like it was disgusting that America the Beautiful was being sung in other languages other than English, and how it was inappropriate and not was being brought up against, directed at, in many cases, these young children who were singing. And that really, really upset me. It made me really mad, but it also felt like a really familiar thing, right? That the kind of denial of who gets to be American and what that means. And growing up, and having a lot of these different identity traits, I've often felt like I'm not American enough, or I'm not Pakistani enough, or I could never be enough of these certain things because I was outside of their definition. And it became really hard to have pride in any of those identity traits that I occupied. I'm also a child of immigrants and come from a family of immigrants. And I think that specific experience also made it feel like it was hard to really believe like America was my home, or that I owned any of the kind of benefits that came with being American. And in a lot of ways, I think our society, it's really easy to try to act like people are one-dimensional, right? It's easier to look at someone when they're one-dimensional because then you don't have to interact with all of their different facets. You can see, oh, this person is just this thing, or like this is how they do it. Versus really taking the time to look at someone like a full, nuanced human being, right? So, for example, how could you be both Pakistani and American? Or how could you be both Muslim and queer, right? How could you be both X and Y? How do these things exist simultaneously in someone? These things that might seem like hypocrisies, yet are going around in perfect harmony. So that was something that, I struggled with a lot when I was young, and really felt like it was hard to be myself and to find pride in being myself. I felt like it was hard to just say, like, this is who I am, and often I shied away from sharing aspects of my identity with my own peers or with people that I was meeting, or even out of my own family, right? I felt like I couldn't do that. And I loved art though, and I loved being on stages, and I performed a lot, and I loved theater partially because it allowed me to escape, right? I could be up on stage and I could have people look at me, but I could be someone else, and I didn't have to be myself. And when I was 15, I saw for the first time someone do a spoken word poem. And that person was on stage and just so themselves and could occupy all these different identities and say, this is who I am, this is what I believe in, and this is what I want you to see about me. And I was amazed by this. And I remember right after, I went on like a 2-mile run just because I was so hyped up with energy, I just couldn't sit still. But that, spoken word artist showed me how to unapologetically be yourself, right? How to be able to stand on stage and say, no, I don't care how flat the world wants to make me, I'm going to resist that and be this multidimensional person. So in a lot of ways, I came to spoken word, my journey with spoken word is what led me to be the person I am today, and to be as confident in myself, and just to say, this is who I am, and this is what I want to be. So by show of hands, I'm just going to take a quick poll for my own research. How many of you guys have ever written a poem? Your third grade poems can count if you ever have to do a third grade assignment. Okay. How many of you have ever performed a poem? Okay, awesome. So I want everybody to take a moment right now to just visualize, think about it, what poetry means to you. I'm a teaching artist, I'm a freelance teaching artist, so I go out into public schools and colleges and teach spoken word poetry. And when I ask my students that, I get such wide answers. I get like Shakespeare, and then I get like Kendrick Lamar. And I think that that's awesome. Like that's always my ideal answer is yes, poetry and poems are Shakespeare, and they are also Kendrick Lamar, right? They're occupying this vast terrain that we can all kind of contribute to. To me, what poetry means is the ability to create something new, the ability to make. The root of the word poem actually means to make, which I think is just a really beautiful concept. And if we think about poetry and poems in that way, we actually can expand the definition of what it means to be a poet and what it means to create poetry. Instead of thinking of it as a single performance or something that's broken down by lines or something that has a rhyme scheme, we can start to think about poetry as anything that involves making or creating. In that way, cooking dinner with friends you love can be a poem, or gardening can be a poem, or collaging can be a poem, or painting, or setting up a new house with the love of your life can be a poem in many ways. And there's a really amazing poet named Terrence Hayes who gave an interview recently in which he said, poetry of absorbs all genre. It's a way of absorbing all genre, and poets are decathletes, which I love. I tell my students that poets are wizards, that our words are wands, and we have access to all of them. We have access to the words of all of our languages, and ones that we don't know that we're so stubborn in learning, and getting the ability to create new words in the spheres of technology and, pop culture and all of that. And that our words, when we act as wands, we can build new things, and we can create, we can question the world around us, we can reckon with people, we can ask people to look at our full selves on a stage, or like see us for who we are, or how we want to present ourselves. And our words can also destroy, they can ruin, and they can hurt. There's a lot of pain that words cause. There's a lot of pain that people carry from words that were said to them, or denied to them, or thrown on them since they were young. And there are certain words that I know are filled with such hate and exist in this world and are used on a daily basis. And so it's important to remember that words are not neutral, that words are coded in histories of power and relationships and ethnicity and gender and all of this stuff and history, and it's really important to reckon with that when we're deciding what words we want to choose and what spells we want to cast. And so why I really love words, though, and the ability to construct and to make a poem is really for that ability to do something that maybe doesn't exist in this world quite yet, or to be able to, use our words as avenues towards an understanding that we might not be able to gather just from, our day-to-day experiences. And so I'm going to share another poem with you today. I never really, my parents died when I was really young, and I never got the chance to know them. And I think in a lot of ways, I use poetry as a way to connect with them, to talk to them, to figure out if we can still communicate in a language, even though we're not on this earth together. So the poem I'm going to share with you guys right now is called An Imagined Apology for My Father, who passed away when I was 5. Dream, love. I am a whittler in this life. We can live anywhere you want. A farm, a stable, a tiny house, and a silent field. There are no hospitals this time. Dream, love. You are 16, and I am mad at you because there is a boy in my house you swear you love. Shallow as a rotten avocado, but your eyes are big and fly-capped with him. You expect me to love generously. Dream, love. You are 21 and fastening a medal to your graduation robe while I complain about the uneven floors of your kitchen. You are 37 and I'm calling you to say goodnight. You are 25 and I'm asking about the last episode of your favorite TV show. You are 19 and I'm watching you leave the house to go out with friends. Dream, love. You see, here, the sand is made of fish. The only thing their gills breathe is you. You, everything's air, and the ocean is nothing but waves of whispers. You are born to swim in secrets, but pull each curve of water back and you will see she's nothing but your mother, spooning you advice. Your mother will always be the ocean and I the dream, so dream, love. I'm standing at the bus stop, waiting to carry your backpack home. My arms are tree trunks that will never fall. I am all the sidewalk you walk on, so you will never need to walk home alone again. Dream, love. You are every age, and I am staying up, waiting for you to come home. Ability to create something new, to recast, to question the world around us, to get people to see our perspectives and us as whole human beings. Words also have the ability to make us think about something in a new way. There's this amazing poet in Ocean Vuong who recently wrote in a poem of his, remember, loneliness is still time spent with the world. And I remember reading that line and just being amazed by that. And and never having thought of loneliness that way, right? Only having thought of loneliness as something that is despair, something that I don't want to be a part of, but thinking about the layers of beauty that come with loneliness and the connection that we have to the earth if we can feel lonely. In that same way, thinking about grief as more than just sadness, but thinking about grief as an echo of love, as a testament to how deeply we can love something that when it is gone, its absence echoes in all the parts of our bodies. So I'm going to end on one last poem, and this poem I wrote on a day that I was feeling, it was very new, so you guys get to hear it. But I wrote it on a day that I was feeling very, very sad, and I was trying to show myself that there was more to that day than being sad. And it's called Small Joys. Thank you for this small part. How all the leaves beg for my attention. They fall from their branches and bang into my arms, wanting to start a fight. Thank you, wind, for flirting with my dress, knowing that today I wear no underwear. Thank you to the community of grass that lives outside my house. How they know more of neighborhood than I do. Thank you, three-leaved clover, for protecting your four-clothed brethren, those unlucky souls ripe for slaughter. Thank you to the few friends I love, who I send text messages to every hour. I only want to remind you I am alive and hear your own voice answer. In full truth, I have spent most of this night sobbing into my pillow. Thank you to the gulf of grief in which I build my port and captain the ship. Thank you for this gentle sun, lighting the hull of this park bench which I lay to rest. Thank you for my dead mother and her piano fingers, the way they bloom from my own palms. I look at them and think we are the same. And she lives, she lives, she lives. Every poem I write her breath, each praise or gratitude I sing, an echo of her lopsided smile, reminding me how close we are. Thank you.
Okay, so we just watched Fatimah Asghar perform a TEDx talk. And the TEDx talk happened like 8 years ago, I think. But I have so many thoughts and I have so many feelings, and I want to make this video short. I'm going to focus on the question she asked about who here has written a poem, who here has performed a poem, and what does poetry mean to you? Because it is poetry, the Poetry Readathon, I think I just kind of want to stick to that because everything else is so layered and complicated. It's going to take me time to unpack. So I've written poetry. I've performed poetry at open mics. I've never published. And what does poetry mean to me? Poetry means unloading thoughts and emotions, or unpacking thoughts and emotions into words. Poetry means, I like this, she said, poem is to make. I think for me, poetry is making sense of thoughts and emotions, like making connections between a thought and a feeling by using words, sounds, spacing, characters, rhyme. Poetry, I said initially unloading. Poetry does feel like unloading. Poetry feels like unloading energy, mental, emotional energy onto a page. That's what poetry means to me. And I think that's why I find it So liberating, empowering, creative, joyful. Yeah, that is poetry for me. Hasta la próxima.